Okay, I think that we're going to get underway. This is Zeki Demirblak here, and Lewa Lane, is sitting next to me. Both of us basically will be doing these presentations. Yesterday, day one, I went through the background, the introduction, the strategy basically for setting up, WaveNet and TideNet. Discuss, share those, basically with you, and we went through the publications and showed where the previous proof of concept basically developments that we did and related publications, and they are basically here. I'll show you again. And I went through some of the general features of the WaveNet, and then covered one example case for NDVC data, and started basically with a WISP and started. So that's kind of basically a recap of what we did yesterday. Any questions from yesterday? Now feel free to send basically your questions anytime afterwards by email, or just give us basically a call if you like. One thing that I didn't mention yesterday that I want to basically talk about is some other logistics. For instance, I provided basically what this system is about, but didn't lay out the plan for the webinars on a day-by-day basis. So I'm going to basically talk about that. Day one basically was the intro background and covering the NDVC and just starting with the WISP data. Day two, I'm going to go through the WISP data, CDIP, GLOS, and GLCFS data sources, if I have time. Day three, plan is to go through WaveWatch 3 data source, and then that will wrap up WaveNet, and then I'll start with the TideNet tomorrow, and I will go through the CIRP database and the Provo database. And day four, Friday, then I will cover the NOS database and TPXO database. And then the rest of the time basically will be a wrap-up, closure, questions, and what next type of thing. So that's basically all, a summary of the daily, coverage, schedule that, we're going to have, and hopefully that will give you basically a feel of which of these, days will be more pertinent to your needs and applications. Keep also in mind that, we're recording all of these, and all of these videos will be available to you on CIRP website. We'll be posting those, afterwards, so you can go and view this at your, convenient time, basically whenever you need to. So, and others that, basically in the district that were not able to attend, could not basically make it, you can point them, to those, sources as well. The other thing that I want to mention, some people contacted me and asked for professional development hours. If you need to have PDH, basically credits, email me by the end of the week, and with your name and how many basically webinars, have you attended, and then I will need that information to get a certificate to you, okay? In terms of the basically suggestions, improvements, and needs, additional needs that basically you have in mind that you would like, to suggest, we would like you to submit those as statement of needs and email those to us, to Julie and me, okay? If you want to basically discuss those before, basically we can do that as well, but that's the way that Julie would like to, to handle those. Question answered during any webinar, basically this is an open forum. You can ask me questions at any time. Just basically start, talking, I'll stop, basically listening and try to answer your question during the presentation. If you have any questions afterwards, anytime, just basically email or call, okay? So with that, basically, this kind of covers, the scheduling for each day, and as well as basically some of the other, logistics related to this. So this is day 2. In day 2, as I said, I will start basically introducing the WIS data, CIRP data, GLOS data, and GLCFS, if I have time. And again, schedule is also flexible, if we run out of time, basically some of these things can roll over to the next day. I don't want to basically inundate you, with tons of information, load you, and I just want to make sure that, you're feeling comfortable, and that's why feel free to ask questions, interrupt it, if there is something that's not clear to you. Okay? So with that, let's start with the WIS data. Those that basically who were not, here yesterday, when you click that link, basically, and you go to, this WaveNet, this is the first screen that you're going to see. And notice that, at the upper left corner right here, there is WaveNet name. And this feature I added just a couple of days ago, and you can click the TiNet, automatically they switch between the two, if you like, okay? So made it easier a little bit, rather than you typing and so on. In the top menu right here, about, basically tells, what the purpose of this, toolboxes are. And here describes, basically the WaveNet, and you can go through and read that. Contact information, my email and Lewa's email, right here if you have any questions. Under the more info, this is where all of the basically technical documents related, to the previous publications, everything is here. I indicated yesterday that any web-based tool basically is browser dependent a lot of ways. What you see on my screen right here, I'm using basically Firefox, and if you're using maybe IE or Chrome, the functioning of it may be a little bit different depending on your browser, okay? So if certain things, basically don't happen the way that you see, observe me doing, they are happening, but for instance, if you click something to open, your IE will put those, maybe in your download page automatically. Each browser basically has its way, basically operating, functioning, I don't have any control over that, but there's always a way to get the files, either they're depositing somewhere or providing the opportunity. In Firefox, you can right mouse click and save link as, and save any of these files basically to your local directory. And if it's an HTML file, link, basically you will save as an HTML, okay? So with, let's say, this one probably will be a PDF, and bingo, that's basically, you can save the file. If your browser does not open or have difficulty, right? That's another way basically to access, these documents. So I indicated yesterday that in WaveNet currently, we are operating on the strategy of one data source at a time, and one geographic basically point, location at a time. So I'm going to select, today, starting with the WIS data. As soon as I click that, and you see the WIS stations basically, shown on the map, right here. This is the Google map right now, but in the next version of this, we're probably switching to Esri, basically maps, have better display of the, at least, underlying oceanography, and water depth and things, information like that. The philosophy here, as I said, everything that is in the WaveNet and TiNet is open source. There's no proprietary code, nothing. The reason I couldn't do basically Esri at the time, they required, basically licenses, but now at least some of their tools, are free. And that's why basically, the reason for this switch. And if something provides better information, more information, why not? Okay? So the way that, basically WaveNet operates, you select the data source, and then You can zoom, by the way. You can zoom in and zoom out. And then as soon as you zoom in, notice that, station number starts showing up. The reason we don't display basically those in the first page, there's a lot of clutter. So the strategy was we tried it, how many basically stations to display at a given time, this and so on. And because of that, initially I display only about 50 stations all around, visible. But after that, you can zoom in and basically get as many stations as you want. Okay? So it works basically just like any other, web, stuff, and hello. Yeah. So sometimes, it may basically be stuck this or whatever. And that's because of the baud rate, the number of points being displayed, basically, and can choke it. But you can, zoom into any area and, basically select a station that, you like. So I'm going to select, let's say, one of the stations right here off the coast of, Santa Barbara. As soon as you select the station I indicated yesterday, you can immediately go to the data sources associated with the station and then look at, basically what's, out there. We give you that opportunity. And there is a lot of, useful information that you can glean, from the data sources. We are not generating any information that's basically new. Understand that these tools are designed to go access existing data sources and fetch information from those. So whatever is in data source, basically that's what we're grabbing. If you click the access, basically with station data, at the bottom right here, you immediately saw it says with station 83090, data available for years 1981 to 2011. Okay? So the default, in this case, we set it to last 1 year data, 2011, from January 1 to December 31st. So I'm going to basically select that default time to download the data. If you like basically to have data for some other different time frames, you can come here, 2011. Let's say you want data from January 1st to May 10 or whatever. You can then come here, just say May 10. And basically that's the data that you're going to get. Okay? But I'll select the entire year data just to illustrate how the system, can handle massive, data basically, that is out there. So I'll put, that was the default. And then if we push the retrieve and plot data, just wait. It needs to go basically handshake, with the server from the data sources and try to download the data. As most of you are familiar with the WISP data, the data is packed, basically 20-year Hindcat, huge, humongous file. So that's why basically it's going to take a little while. But, during the development, we basically try to develop some techniques, to, be able to access and fetch, massive amounts of data, in very high speed, basically. That's why if you are going to do that yourself, you may be there waiting for a while. But we can fetch that data, 20-year data, basically very quickly for you. So plotted here basically is the time series of that data that you fetched, showing it from January 2011 all the way to the December 2011. You can basically zoom on data for any month, this or whatever time period, and to query this and that kind of thing, look at the quality. If you move your cursor, by the way, you can see the magnitude, this or whatever. The blue is the wave height. Wind basically is in red color. Okay? And that convention will be carried out through all of the data sources, by the way. And not only that, we use the color, basically coding also associated with the file name, certain file names. So when I generate, let's say, a spectra for a non-directional, let's say, buoy, or, basic data source, and using the wind, basic direction, then you will see that the file name will be in red, kind of basically telling me that, hey, I cannot generate, basically directional, wave, spectra for you, but I can use, basically wind, and this is how this spectra is generated. So to make that distinction. So here, at the bottom of this basically screen right here, what we call the analysis tool, or functionality, or those functions. We have tabular data, we have plots, Rose's histogram, statistics, and spectral output. And I'll go through each of those now. You click the tabular data, and then it created a file, text file of wave data and time. Push your basically mouse, on the file, and at the bottom you will see that it says, this is generated by WaveNet _with, station number is 83090, and then start time is 2011-01-01, and 2011-1231.csv. This is basically a tabular columnar, column separated basically, data that you can basically open it or you can save it. To save it, right mouse click, save link as. And then you got the basic CSV file. You can save it to your local directory. I encourage you to save information to your own directories, because otherwise the default, basically is on the server. But, I don't have, unlimited disk space, and, basically I run Scrubber, once in a while, like if I get low on the disk space, so I delete the files. If you have a file that what I'm saying, it's not going to stay there. But if you save it to your own machine, you can keep it as long as you want, okay? So if I click this file name, and here we give you basically three options. We say open the file. In this case, my default, and you can select whatever tool you want to open with. I'm going to open this, with the Excel. I can save the file also here, give you option for that. And then if you want to apply that command, for consecutively for any files of this type later, you can say check that as well. But I'm not going to check that because I switch sometimes between the tools. So I'm going to click this. Now, just want to warn you that in some of the browsers, when you click this, it will go to your download directory. Okay? So IE functions differently, and Chrome functions differently, and Firefox differently. Enable the content, and at the top, this top part of it basically is the header information that basically we put it there because you can keep this as permanent records, and I forget things like where I got it, this and that kind of. This tells you this was generated by WaveNet, and which station is 83090. Number of records in this file are 8737. The data basically is from 2011-01-01 to 2011-12-31. And then below that we have columnar data. The first column is basically ID that we use for processing our code, MATLAB, Fortran codes, and so on. We need to know which data we're dealing with and so on. For us, but you can basically use it or keep it, or it doesn't matter. But the rest of it, year, month, day, hour, wave height, peak period, average period, peak wave direction, wind speed, and wind direction. Okay? So that's what this is in this file. So I'm going to basically click that X and close that file. Next function is the plots. Again, this function is basically by working the team that, from district that we basically helping out, guide us, what the district needs are, the type of need that, they would need, either for project support, documentations, planning and operations and so on. A lot of these functions are based on those basically needs that, and we welcome other suggestions, basically you have. So in this case, we generate plots of wave height and period and direction versus time, and the plots of wind speed and direction in time. So you click, basically bring your mouse there, and again, it tells basically file name. In other words, in this case, is unique, because if you don't do that, then someone else will come and basically write over that file and so on. So it makes it easier also for you to remember when you see the file name. What is that? Julie has a video or something that basically covering my stuff, but I don't know how to move that, around. So she's covering my page. But anyway, so in the file, there are basically 3 panels in this that, will do the time series plot for you. It says the WaveNet, generate this. This is for which station this. Again, start and end time. The top panel, is the wave height versus time. And the middle one is the peak period versus time. And the bottom one basically is the wave direction. Okay? The same plot, basically, similar plot, for the wind speed and wind direction. And in some of the browsers, you can right mouse click and there will be here another save the link as. In this one, basically, you do it, on the file name, or when you open it, the file, it gives you that option. But the other browser, basically may operate, differently. The third function, basically, analysis tool is the rows and histograms. So I'm going to click that, and this is going to generate a few, things basically for us. Wave height rows, histogram for wave height, same thing for the wave period, and histogram for period, and wind rows and wind, histogram. And again, all of those basically have unique names associated with the file. Click each file, basically to open, and here you see basically the wave height rows for station 83090. Okay, for the time period that the year that you have selected, year 2011. And again, some of them, you can save those, and so on. The histogram is a 2-dimensional histogram, maybe a little bit different than some of you are familiar with. It's not 1D, percent occurrence versus, basically wave height. We used to have that also in the development phase. We presently, basically are using this. We think that, this shed a little bit more light. But if there's interest, in the 1D, basically percent occurrence, that here y-axis will be percent occurrence, and then this will be wave height, and x-axis. We have that capability, and we can basically provide that as well. And again, there are different ways, there are different color schemes, there are different ways basically to provide, either 1D or 2D, parts of this, basically wave information, and we are open to suggestions basically. This is just one of the basic options that, we selected, based on our discussion with the field users. Here is the wave period, basically, rows diagram, and associated the histogram, similar to the wave height. And percent occurrences, basically, color coding is based on that. Last one in this category is the wind rows diagram for the wind, and again, based on the number of bins, speed bins that we have for the entire year data, and this one is the 2-dimensional basically wind speed versus direction, and for number of occurrences over each direction bin. Next functionality, function or analysis is basically going to be statistics, and I call those first order basically wave statistics. We generate here monthly wind and wave height information. Let me click that first. This gives basically a HTML file, so that you can take a look at it. Some people like this, they said they want to screen capture and put this in their report. You can do that, and again, tells you the source and flat longitude, depth of the source, and start and end times, basically associated with that. For the HTM to close this, you have to click, this particular, opening. Next to it, we provide also a CSV file. Some people like that because they need it for record keeping and maybe do some other things that they want to do. So you have an Excel file in essence, again, with the header information and everything there. Next is the percent occurrence table. And select all, and if I make this smaller, right, Liwa? Yeah. Huh? No? Okay. So now then basically it will display maybe in the form that, you're more familiar with it, okay? So some of these display capabilities are a function of, what tool you're using, what I'm saying, to view, to see. So these are the percent, and this is basically first percent occurrence of the wave height is, and period, by direction. And this is for the direction sector, centered around 22.5 degree, direction bin, okay? And tells you, basically here, wave height in meters, and peak period, right here. In these tools, we use decided to use a site system. If you want to basically use English system, you can bring into Excel this or after you save, your data. That can be done. One. Second, if you like basically have an option to switch between the units, system, English versus SI. In the development phase, we did have that, but sometimes person clicks one and the other range, basically is inconsistent with what's selected before. That's why we decided to stick with one system SI unit and operate, everything in the SI unit. But it can be done, what I'm saying, if it is needed, if there is a request for it. Next are the two type of plots that I'm going to show. One is the scatter plot and the joint probability scatter plot. I'll do HT, height, periods, and the other one will be the contour plots of those. Some of you may have seen it, but these are common basically in practice, and H versus T, and the coloring is done basically here based on the number of occurrences, right? And the same information will display also in contour plot, so that you can see the concentration and distribution basically of the H versus T. And this, again, there's a lot of information that basically a person can glean, from this. Some people, they use this information. I look at the characteristics of this, I can say some things about even distribution energy in the, wave spectra and so on and that kind of, so it's very useful to me, but I don't know, this is, useful to some of you or not, but it's a different way, what I'm saying, to, checking and getting some information, basically out of the data. The last analysis that we do is the spectral output, and basically here we generate the ENG file, for CMS wave. And used to be ENG file also, used by ST wave, but I think that the format is now different, for ST wave. Maybe binary file and different convention signs, so on. So currently we generate the input file for CMS wave. So this helps you not to mess with the SMS or whatever, and on the fly, if you have the information, you can generate your ENG file and be able to immediately feed into CMS wave and do your simulation. You can put the grid boundary of your depth at the grid boundary. Let me put 30 meters maybe, and angle could be 0 degree, 30 degree, whatever your grid angle. I'm going to keep it as 0, and source depth is I keep it as it is. You can generate it based on spectra for every 3 hour waves or hourly waves. I'm going to generate for 3 hours, and as soon as I click that, and the file name basically comes on, and as I was mentioning yesterday, I noticed that we forgot to put the start time and end time in the file name. So we'll make that adjustment basically to it. But if I click this to open the file, then I can open and see the file. When I do that, yeah, it's going to basically try to read it. It's a huge file, but it will pop up basically, show up and display the file. Yeah, so you can see the time, it's at the top, it's still operating on it, 3 seconds left, 2 seconds, 1 second, and bingo. So it's going to open up basically the file now for you. The file is too big to be opened by Notepad, it says. Can you believe that? And Notepad, my Notepad is supposed to be able to open, sometimes it happens, I don't know. I think that this is a function of the ACID. I have nothing to do with this, but my Notepad++ is supposed to be able to open 36 million of lines, so I never had any problem with it. But once in a while, I see that, here on this ACID machine, but yeah. So, yeah.
Because yesterday you opened a year-long file, right?
Yeah, it did. It's just day to day. I don't know, but I'm not going to fight with those turkeys, and H guys, but.
So what would you do, like say you still want this year of data?
Oh, yeah. Just save your file, basically right mouse click, save the link. Yeah, it's just a display.
I see.
I don't know if the, memory, the way that they manage or whatever, they're doing, but you wouldn't have any problem opening once you save to your directory.
Oh, okay.
With any file. Yeah, with any file, basically, they put some limitations. I think some of it has to do with the security issues, because if you're trying to open a master file, large file, the system is more prone, what I'm saying, to viruses, someone basically observing or trying to connect to it, That's why they put some restrictions. A lot of those, they tell me security related and that kind of thing, and that's fine with me. So just save your file, and then once you see your directory, you can do anything you want. They don't want you to, have browser open longer time, make the system basically be vulnerable to outsiders. That's the reason. Okay, so this basically covers the complete operations, for a WISP station. You can do this for any WISP station you like, okay? All you have to do, click, reset map, right here that I did, and I'm going to bring this down here. Yeah. So they start with. And then, if you want to basically go back and let's say look at it, maybe Hawaii, huh? Did anyone from Hawaii there? No. Okay, not today. So you can basically select, another station in here. And if we click this, well, let's say we're working on Hilo Harbor and station 82527. And again, go there and get your data. So let's say that we need the data for year 2000. Okay, and I need it only for 3 months. Let's say August 31st, and I'm going to get it, let's say, from May 1st. Okay, so May 1st through August 31st, and here we go. Your data is right there. And then you can go through basically the same, do all of the functions that you want. Okay.
Hey, Ziggy, do you ever see any gaps in the data? I don't know that happens to WISP, but
not
about
WISP.
any data sets.
Oh, of course, yeah. especially with the, measurements, field measurement data. And NDDC, you're going to see that, some of that, you're going to see that, with the geolots, in the Great Lakes. You may see that, with the, maybe with even CIRP. So any that thing that is field measurement, gauge, buoy type of thing, that can happen, absolutely.
So then what would you do? Say you still want this time period, but there was a gap, and say we were looking at buoy data. Could you fill in the gap with data? Is that what you would tend to do, or how would you address that so you can get your data and run the model?
There are different ways basically approach that. If the gap is not too basically wide, too long, and you see sometimes, basically the buoy was functioning all the way until hour 21, and suddenly it went kaput in, couple hours or whatever, and then next day, basically at hour 3 or whatever, it woke up again, and that kind of. If the gap is short, I think that you may have justification maybe to fill in, with, the 2 points, end points, and the start points, with some interpolation or whatever, or assume that, basically it's constant, during that time, wherever you stopped or, and that kind of. There are different schemes to do that. But if the duration of the gap is wide, then, really that raises question on the validity of those kind of thinking. In industry, we never did gap-based closure based on any of this type of things, and there are different other schemes that basically, are used to address, longer time periods, but you really may have to tap into other data sources to make, some legitimate basically decision on that. For instance, I sometimes look at the satellite and use that as a guide, this or whatever. I may look at, basically nearby, platform, that has constant data and was, gauged there, performed perfectly fine. So in this case, for instance, one can look at the WIS station, and, WIS is not going to happen, but an NDBC buoy, if basically the gap is quite long, you may want to go and look at the WIS station close by. You may want to go look at the Wave Watch 3 close by or something, and then maybe pad it, with the information, from those sources close as a way. There are schemes, there are things, basically people can do, but this is where the research comes, basically for this. We need really to consider, viability, applicability of some of these approaches, and because they can impact, the project application. And I was going to defer this to basically Friday as some of the features that really can be, they're essential. They're essential. I'm not, saying that, data gap does not happen. They do happen, and how to go about basically, patching, those kind of, things so that, district people can do their work.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. So I'm going to basically move from WIS to next data source in the interest of time. So I reset the map and set it back to the original that comes here. Next data source I'm going to look at is CIRP, Coastal Data Information Program. And yeah, for the sake of basically demonstration, I'm just going to take a station. Let's take one from Gulf of Mexico. Station CIRP 144. And again, if you click the station, and we'll link you to the basically the data sources on page. There's a lot of information in each of these data sources that I recommend that, if you want to really have not been exposed to them and you're a new employee, you would like to learn, there's lots of good information in each of the data sources. And you can read and documentation and so on. And you can look at the history, you can look at, basically availability of data and so on, here as well. So I'm going to go back and click the access the data. And again, I did, and it said that, I can give you the data from the, about last month or so, for data sources that provide, basically continuous data, then we provide you as of, today's data maybe, okay, if it's available. And the default in that case, will basically grab, 2016, last month or so. But, like WIS or whatever, if they have data, we check, handshake, with them based on your, time period you specify, and if data is only available through 2011, then that's the default that you're going to see. But you can come here and basically you don't like, basically to look at this, you want to look at the previous year data. So come here, click, and calendar comes. Let's say that I want to go to year 2012 data. And let's say that I want to go through end of April. And this is the end. This is the start. And I'm going to go from, let's say, February 1st, right? Well, but it said, I don't know. So let's try. Leroy said that it might not have it, but we'll see. So I said that I want it from February 1st all the way to end of April and 2012, retrieve the data, and let's see. If its data is not there, Basic is not going to be able to fetch the data for you. And you can go to the data source itself, website, and see if the data is available in fact, or if it's maybe a miscue, by the, yeah. I do have the data, okay? So, CIRP basically has no wind. It's wave only, and that's why, you see only the blue color, okay? But in terms of the operation basically identical to, NDBC and with basically data sources that we saw. Because CIRP, record the data every half hour. So in this case, we will give you hourly as well as the original measured data, okay? Rod and others, basically Rod Morris, requested that we provide both. Sometime, they need, basically both of them, and that's why. If it's available, we'll provide you both of them. But if it's only one source available, hourly, 3-hourly data, that's all you're going to get. And again, data, same as we did, before, and headers, information, where it says that 999, that means there's no data available. Okay? But you have wave height, peak period, average speed, and wave direction information right here. Now, once you have that data, CSV data, or you can save it as an Excel file, this or whatever, and if you want to do your own operations or as a text file, feed to your Fortran codes, MATLAB codes, this or whatever, that's what we do. That's what we basically, provide you when we're generating, these plots, roses, right, histograms, statistics, we run our own basically codes, analysis tool. That's what we're doing. So the half-hourly data basically is the same thing that we looked at it, but except is the original data. We just parsed it and put it in hourly, in the previous case. Okay? And plots same as before with the WIS. In this case, because there is no wind, you will not see, the second file that we saw, remember, with the WIS for wind, only height, period, and direction. No wind, obviously, for this. Okay? Roses. Clicking that, you have only waves, wave height, rows. Again, a lot of this depends on the number of basically wave height ranges available in data, and we determine a nice fine range, of the number of bins, basically we need to put it here, and radials basically show the distribution of the wave height and over the directions, and color banded, based on the wave height bins. Histogram, just same thing that we saw before, again, this is H versus direction, number of based on coloring, based on number of occurrences. Series rows similar to height, and again, based on the, basically the direction, number of direction beams that, we identified, and we show those in radial, basically distribution. So I'm going to skip to the statistics, and for the wave statistics, again, the monthly, this is very informative because I look at this, I say, oh, okay, there's no data from May all the way to December or whatever, but I asked only data for February to April anyway. So if I had, there may not be no data. I mean, sometimes, you can ask and there will be dashes here. So I check that, basically data availability. But the plot here also will tell you if the data is not available. There will be gaps, as Julie was mentioning, for instance. CSV data, just the same thing, in the comma delimited format. Percent occurrence tables, just like what we saw before. And again, you can massage those and display, very nicely that, you see it, in other places. The scatter plots, and this is the scatter plot, in technical literature, this is what you see in journal papers and things like that. That's why, we went this format rather than some other, scatter plots and contour plots that we tested, tried, in the proof of concept, basic development phase of this. Again, all of this, you can, if you like to save it, just save link as. Spectra, output, I'm not going to basically even put the, depth, here. Let's see that it will work. And it assumes in that case, basically your boundary is very close, right at that, source depth. And then bingo, you generated that file. And if you click in, and you have the processing, and you have the standard basic ENG file, wave spectra file that you used to use, basic for ST wave and CMS wave, number of, direction, frequency beams, and number of direction beams, frequencies, Fmin to Fmax, and then the timestamp, and the wind speed, direction, and peak frequency. So, all right. So we're done basically with CIRP. Next data source is GLOS. Yeah. So the GLOS and GLCFS are for the Great Lakes. Okay. So GLOS is Great Lakes Observation System, and a really very, very useful wealth of, basic information that they have built, and NOAA has done an excellent job basically in developing this, and we basically grab whatever, they provide there. Now, the interest from the district that, basically our point of contact we're working with, they wanted mostly, again, wind and wave information on water level and that kind of thing, basically from this site. So we're fetching, only that information. If you go to any of these stations, and let's say that, let's take one in the middle of Lake Michigan. So this station is GLOS Station 12, Michigan. It says that East Southeast Milwaukee, station name, title of it. You can go to the home page and get some information about it, availability of data. There's information about air pressure, wind from, air temperature, dew point, wave height, period, water temperature, wind gusts, wind speed, lots of information. And so we only basically are going to provide, from this, only certain information that the district is very interested in. So I'm going to click the access. Hello. Hello. Okay. Yeah. Now, a warning. Aha, it came. Because we are at the mercy of the data basically source. Now, understand that these are also human beings. They, basically support, lots of users worldwide, this or whatever, and many of these, at least, U.S. and Canada and everyone else, basically. So be patient. Sometimes, basically their servers, may be going under maintenance, down or whatever, and you think that, maybe the data is not available, but it will pop up eventually. If you cannot get the information for a particular station or whatever, just send us, basically email. We have point of contact. We can check, whether they are doing something, to their servers and things like that. If we cannot access and do them that time. Like Sunday, I was trying to access something in France, from Le Corbeau, Saturday, and I couldn't do it all day long. But when I send email to, my contacts, and they said, Jackie, we're maintaining server done, but it will come up, tomorrow at 11, your time, and you can grab it. So sometimes that happens, what I'm saying. Just understand. Okay. With these stations, because the data is not, basically continuous, and some of them, is partial data and so on, we give you basically availability. Thought that we should give you availability of data based on the years, and that should help you in terms of selecting your start and end time. Okay. So use this table, and so I'm going to basically look at 2015, last year, and it says that data is available from May 12 to August 25. So let's click that, and again, when it does this, because we have to handshake and we're filling out actually forms or requests, believe it or not, submitting, to their server and doing all sorts of things that, you will need to do, this and that kind of thing, and that's why it takes a little bit of time. So be patient again. And this says that, well, but the data is only available from August actually, right? Some, and not actually from May. Now, there may be point measurements or whatever. It's too sporadic, or missing data, and we grab only the section that basically continues. We are providing with the GLOS only wind data, okay? That's why it's red. And so if I click the tabular data, and I'm going to provide basically only one file, hopefully, yeah, and one file that's for wind, but it's hourly or whatever the measurement sampling time is in that case. And so it's going to bring it up and show me everything else is, see, notice that, we're using the same format. So wave information is, basic 999, that means no data. The last two columns, wind speed and wind direction. And where do you use this? This is the information that I need basically to provide to the SCIRP, to CMS flow, this flow model, or basically CH3D and so on and that kind of thing. And so if you need basically wind field, wind information for some of the numerical models, then you can take this and go to provide that basically to your numerical model. This is the original data at the sampling rate that is collected. And again, any of those you can right mouse click and save those files to your local directory. The plot of it, if for basic project or report documentation, if you need it, basically we provide that. You don't like this, but you already have that CSV file, Excel file. You can do your own plot, and different colors or fashion or whatever you like. But at least you have something that you can put in your documents without spending too much time. Okay, quickly, windrows, similar thing to what we showed you before, and this is only for wind, obviously in this case there's no wave. Based on the number of wind speed bins and the directional distribution of the wind speed is shown right here. And wind speed versus direction and the number of occurrences. The last one, next one, statistics. I'm going to just show you basically the monthly distribution of it, and notice that, it had only basically, wind, for those time periods. Only in August, right? So, the spectra, this is very interesting. I'm going to show you this, and again, I can put the depth, here, maybe let's say 20 meter, my grid depth, boundary. If I generate a file, it's calculating the spectra. Notice that, you put in red, right? What that says is, hey, you want me to generate, wave energy spectra, right, for your input model, but there's no wave information. So I assume that the wave energy is 0. Therefore, I generated based on the, wind information that, I have. And that's why it's in red. So if you click that, and again, it's, it's commensurate with the basic colored code that, we're using. Okay? And again, same standard basically, but the energy density in this case will be 0. No waves, right? But you suppose that you want to run CMS wave, for wind only. This is the way basically, you would do. Okay? All right. I think that we completed the time, and so the rest of it basically I'm going to postpone to tomorrow. Any questions for what we covered today? No question is basically a bad question. Anything that you have, something unclear to you, something that you can say, I wish you could do this for me, or I wish I can have this as well, that kind of thing. Just maybe think about it more. You don't have to be spontaneous right now asking questions, because Friday I think we would like to get some feedback from you. Think about your not only current and future needs and things that, really you would like to have, capabilities, that can be added, to make life easier for you. If there are no questions, we'll see you tomorrow then.